All right. It is indeed a very, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Tackle. It is the 11th of November 2022. Tarehe ni 11 mwezi ni wa mwezi ni wangapi? Tarehe 11 mwezi ni wa 11. 11/11 2022. It's a pleasure to have you again. Kama kawaida, when you join in, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. When you join in, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us. And after like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. I hope you are ready and set for Sharia Wiki, the Friday of the 11th of November 2022. If you have any questions as well, you can send it to us. If you have any legal questions, you can send it to us. Ama kuna swali yote yanayohusu uongozi na siasa na sheria, basi unaweza tupigia simu, unaweza tumia ujumbe. You can send us something in the comment section and we can have a conversation together this morning. Tuko na Daktari Ekuru Aukot kama kawaida, ambaye amesema kwamba wananchi wanataka wapunguziwe mzigo, na pia tuko na Justina Wamae. Pia alikuwa ni yule mwaniaji mwenza, running mate pale Roots Party atwa Bombo Clat. Sisi kama baada ya huko Malia last time alikuwa hapa, alikuwa anasema ulikuwa na msukumano kidogo. Yeah, to let us know this morning how things are looking like. Please onijeni, let us know where you're watching us from. Ukiingia tafadhali niambie unatazama kutoka wapi. Very, very good morning. Ukiingia niambie unatazama kutoka wapi. Onijeni, please let me know where you're watching us from. Let's look at the traffic situation on the roads this morning. Tuangalie hali inakaa vipi kwa barabara mahali ulipo. Also let me know wherever you are, let me know the traffic situation is looking like this morning. Okay, looking in at Ngong Road. That's how Ngong Road is looking like. Ngong Road is not really bad this morning. Surprisingly, Ngong Road is not doing very bad this morning. It's looking all clean. Heading towards the Kenyatta roundabout is looking all clean. Also heading in from Adams Arcade towards the Prestige Plaza, toward Prestige Mall, also looking very clean. And also heading towards the Junction Mall on the other side of Ngong Road. Looks crazy. I don't know what's going on. From Pathway, that is around Race Course, heading towards the Junction Mall. It's not looking good at all. So if you can avoid that route, the better for you. If you can use alternative road, the better for you. Ngong Road is not looking clean from Race Course, heading towards the Junction Mall, all the way from Kevian. Race Course, it's jammed up badly. Looking at Naivasha Road as well, not looking very good this morning. It's not looking at the best. It's not at its best. Naivasha Road nakavi baya. Pia Kingara Road looks clean. But there's some traffic build-up coming in from the Mbaazi Junction heading towards Kitanga Road. But Kitanga Road naona mapema hii inakaa vizuri, haina maneno mengi. But there's some little traffic at the Quickmart supermarket just after Valley Arcade. But nothing to really worry about. James Gishuru this morning around Lavington area is not looking good. Lavington area is not looking good. Lavington Mall area is not looking good. Some little traffic right there. And I think it's because of those interchanges. Heading towards Waiyaki Way. There's a lot of traffic at Mozima Springs Junction. Heading towards heading towards Waiyaki Way. Although James Gishuru is not looking good at all. I don't know what's going on that side. Westlands, hapo kidogo kwa stage ni kama kameshikana. Kuna shida hapo kidogo. I don't know what's going on. If you can use an alternative route probably towards Parklands, then the better for you. Limuru Road this morning is not looking good as well. All the way from Aga Khan Hospital, heading towards inbound into CBD, it's not looking good. It's looking a bit crazy this morning. Thika Road, Atuadheka, kama kawaida mwezi kosa jam. Traffic coming in all the way from Wapi, all the way from KCA University, heading towards the Muthaiga Exchange, not looking good. Kiambu Road inakaa vibaya pia, just after the DCI. It's jammed up heading towards the Muthaiga Exchange as well. Looking at Mombasa Road is very clean this morning. Mombasa Road hamna tabu siku hizi hata kidogo. Let's look at Langata Road. There's some traffic build up. There's some traffic build up just heading towards Nyayo. It was Nyayo Stadium, but all the way the old route of Langata Road from Galleria is looking clean. Nothing to worry about this morning. So let me know the traffic is looking like on your end. Lakini kama kawaida tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe basi, alafu tuanze kazi. Haya, Ekuru, unajua hujaituombea.
Hapana, hiyo kazi tujaachia pastors na bishops. Wale watu ambao wanaenda kanisani kuomba. So mimi ukitaka tuimbe national anthem tutaimba, lakini hiyo maombi tumekuachia wewe.
Altar boy. Ni altar boy anaongea.
No, tuko na bishop hapa sasa.
Justina, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Salama, tatuombe.
Acha tu niombe sitakata.
Sababu huyu
Let us pray. Almighty King of glory, thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for the gift of this country. We pray that anything we discuss will be beneficial to our country, and we pray that our people are going to have a change of heart so that we can move forward as a country. We pray this believing and trusting in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Talking about change of heart.
Maombi sio mbaya.
Shida ndio.
Just so don't get me wrong. Maombi sio mbaya.
Shida
Nashinda tu saa ingine tukiomba kwa hii nchi, do we actually mean it? That has been my biggest question. Because tuko na shida mingi sana kwa hii nchi, shida ya chuki, ukabila.
So do you think we mean it when we sing the national
anthem? Mimi najiulizaga hata hii maombi kweli inasaidia na nini? Utakuta watu mabishop wanaangusha watu chini kila Sunday kwa nini kwa soko kule, lakini unaona ukiangalia society generally
uone ni kama
kuna masaibu mingi sana. Sasa mimi nashinda hii intervention ambayo tunaomba kila miaka nenda miaka rudi itakuja lini?
Uone ni kama unatuonea sisi mabishops.
No, siwaone. Mimi najiuliza tu, I'm being critical in terms of when we pray we hope that actually we mean it and we can live by the prayers. So for me that's sometimes the reason why I even somehow like now tomorrow there will be another war with churches, especially the evangelicals. Nothing personal about them, because now there's a big debate. I mean, a debate that's brewing around noise pollution. Actually, not just from bars. We've seen that bars in estates being, being targeted. But last week, or the other week, I also added to that issue the question of churches, because apparently there is one that has been built around us. And last Sunday, even my daughters complained, "Dad, what's happening? Why, we want to revise for schoolwork, but it's too much noise coming from this church."
Crusade.
I don't know. They go for this thing called Kesha from Saturday and then Sunday. So my question was really, and I know there's a bishop who really was so hard on me because he's my personal friend. So I'm asking him, and he was telling me that, it's unfortunate that someone like you can say this. I said, I've nothing against the church. The Constitution guarantees the right to worship and freedom of religion. But I'm talking about noise pollution. And I thought that God can even listen to a silent prayer or even a whisper. Why must you shout?
But again,
especially if your noise now encroaches into the right of another person to, for example, quiet enjoyment. When I grew up, when we were growing up, and those early days when we were going to church, we used to rush to church and come back and just stay at home. So these days, if you try to stay at home, you are next to a church, we won't hunt you, especially some of those churches.
You'll get saved by
draw
force.
parallels. Not all churches. Let me just make it clear. It's not all churches. Because I've noticed that some of the mainstream, actually all the mainstream churches, do not make noise. Yeah? I mean, I'm talking about maybe the Anglicans, the Catholics, the Baptists, the SDS, and those Presbyterians. But I'm not against the Pentecostal, but I've seen that the so-called evangelicals, actually, that's the right word. The evangelicals,
the ones of fire and brimstone.
To be honest, I think they are big. I'm sorry, but you can hate me if you want to, but they're becoming a nuisance in terms of noise pollution. And noise pollution is not our imagination. It is regulated under the law, under the Environment and Management and Coordination Act. Sio ati Ekuru Aukot ama Justina Wamae ndio ana complain. Sheria imetungwa kwamba lazima you respect the rights of other people to quiet enjoyment of their places of abode.
But then
I don't know what Justina thinks, but I just had to reflect on this because
but also you guys within the neighborhoods. I've a discussion with someone this morning, and the neighborhoods are turning into small drunk paradises. A lot of clubs coming up, a lot of noises, music. Yani uko dundano uko kwako. You're sitting in your house, but you can listen to every playlist in several bars around the estates. But nobody seems to be raising such an issue. The government continues to approve even commercial and residential properties.
It is, to be honest with you, I mean, it's an illegality. If you're a practicing lawyer, maybe doing a conveyance for a client, there are all those approvals. For example, even before you set up, say, even a residential place. You know, you city hall has to approve these. You know, you go to MCA so there are all those approvals. But the truth for the matter, there are illegal approvals of establishments, and that's why, to be honest with you, why would somebody set up a bar, you know, in the midst of a residence, and then start blowing loud music? So my question was, whereas there are illegal and irregular approvals of entertainment joints in residential areas, but let's also look at the other side. I mean, why should churches also follow suit? You know, I mean, so it's a fundamental question too. Yes.
What do you think, Justin?
My thinking is that we have this utadu what attitude, you know? Yeah, we are praying, what will you do? You're forcing me to listen. Of course I go to church, but don't force me. So the end of my rights is that you're infringing on someone else's right. So I think the moment you start respecting each other's rights, we are not against Kesha or anything, but if it's having soundproof, then soundproof your church, but mind your neighbor. I think the moment we start having such conversations is when this country will move forward. We have no regard for our neighbor. That is a thing. Yes.
No regard for neighbor.
Actually did a very good experiment. I don't want to mention the particular establishment, but Emma Too was in one of our rooms, I think it must have been either a bedroom or a living room, and she recorded. Yeah, she recorded the
music was very clear,
and actually posted it. It was so clear, even for me listening from a Twitter handle, I could easily dance to that music without any problem. So you can imagine you are seated in the four walls of your house, and you can still record that noise, and it comes out very clear. Now that's not fair at all. Yesterday I was tempted to record this church. But I thought, wataanza kuniombea nianguki.
Chunga bwana, unaweza kukuangusha.
You can't.
No, kuangusha if they are removing the papers, it's okay. Lakini unaweza kuniangusha.
Yeah, be careful.
But I think it's a serious debate. We really must have some noise pollution.
Yes.
We are not targeting churches, and I think I want to tell my bishop friend, you and I have come a long way. Usisikie mbaya, but it's not right. Yeah.
Okay, but the question is, and I think it gets even more difficult, even as we are struggling. The country is struggling with a lot of things, including alcoholism in young people, and the culture that is changing so swiftly. People have normalized lifestyle that probably could have been an issue before. How do we reverse then these trends? Especially now, a home is supposed to be a safe abode for your children, for your family. It should be a place where you can regulate the environment and regulate the things that can get through to you. But then again, it looks like it becomes more and more difficult to regulate that. So where is the reverse? How do we fix this? Because it looks like the laws are failing. For that instance that you're raising on Kilimani area, which is now, Kilimani actually every 50 meters is a bar. Every 50 meters is a club. And I mean, there was a serious uproar on this. And even clearly, I saw Robert Alai saying he's petitioning government to cancel, to close up these establishments. But then the county government said, no, we are not going to close these businesses. So which other options do we have left? You had the residents speaking so bitterly about how that environment has become so untenable. It's easier when maybe you're renting. But if you have a home, you build a home, or you bought a home. So where do you go? When you try to address it with the government, you're not getting help. When you try with the proprietor to tell you, no, you have a problem, we can improve your room. Can you imagine that? The arrogance that comes with breaking the law. How do we reverse this then?
I feel that we need to, they had issues are there, the law is there, but we are failing on the soft issues. Kenyans no longer have regard for your neighbor. We are saying, if you want to have a bar, you can have it. But are you considering the space that you are in, the families, the residential area? So I think the conversation now should shift from we are going to have a law to how do we bring back the soft issues? People feeling for each other, people thinking about each other, speaking to the hearts and minds of your neighbor. So when you're going there, when you're even doing the NEMA, the NEMA thing, you're feeling it's the analysis. When you're called upon, I remember the time I was sitting somewhere where I work, and the NEMA people came and they were asking me, your neighbor is planning to do this. What are your thoughts? I think something that I did, I was going somewhere, I was rushing, so I was like, Nisa, just feel it. I was not interested. So even us, NEMA most of the time come on the ground, they don't find us. Can we try and participate and say, yes, a club is coming up, we have come on the ground to collect information. Avail yourself, give your side of the story and what you feel and how the establishment coming up you feel will affect you. So one, be available. Two, you the owner of the establishment. Of course, you want class, the clientele is there, you're attracting, you want, them to be there. But what about the people you found there? So peaceful coexistence. So it goes back to the hearts and mind. What are we feeling? Kenyans, times have changed. Ngoma, drinking is a lifestyle. We cannot reverse that. But as individuals, minding your neighbor. I think that's the most important thing.
You talk my view, two views from me. Number one, I think that we have failed in enforcing any laws or regulations or rules of society. As we say in the legal language, I mean, any student of law will tell you that law emanates from within the framework of society. Okay? So it is society that decides, okay, how do we regulate our behaviors as individuals, as groups? So law is a social founding within our society. And law, when you read law, and I'll share with you an article I wrote sometimes back, law as a healing profession. So it heals rifts between, people, and it regulates our behavior. You can have your freedom, but only to the extent that does not encroach into my freedoms. Okay, so we have failed actually in the enforcement, and like Justina is saying, that enforcement, the failure in that enforcement is what now takes us to the context of I have no regard for my neighbor. I don't really care. I mean, and this goes to many things. I mean, talking of society, look at even our conduct, our lack of discipline on the roads. I mean, you see people double parking, they obstruct you. And many times I actually roll down my window and ask the guy, why are you double parking? Why are you obstructing me? The guy just looks at you and tells you, unasema nini? Hiyo ni nini? For him, he doesn't really care. So increasingly, we are becoming a lawless society. And as a lawless society, we are actually inviting conflict. And now I can appreciate why Dr. Obel pulled his gun and shot at those guys. Because you get frustrated. Why do I respect the law and somebody else does not respect the law? As a law-abiding citizen, I will expect that Justina and Bitok will also respect the law. And that way we have got all discipline. I mean, look at the way we drive on street lights. There's a sidewalk for pedestrians, but matatu still want to climb on that, sidewalk. And obstruct the pedestrian. So that's one thing, the lack of enforcement and discipline and respect for the rule of law and regulation and even what we just agree. It's like even in a home, there's a silent constitution and laws in our home, at our homes. Children know they must not behave in a certain way. In fact, some families even go to the extent that kuna kiti ya mzee, kuna mtu anaweza kaleki. It's a silent law. So that's a question of us respecting the law, lack of discipline, and the failure to appreciate that law actually is about us. It's about us as a society. And if you go to other countries in the world, just driving alone, you can tell these people respect the rule of law. They are disciplined. Just the other, to give you an example, I was driving to Thika, and on my way back from Thika, or even driving and coming back, I get so frustrated with people who do not know how to use lanes. And this is just the fact of people do not know what Traffic Act says or driving on lanes. You are slow, you're on the fast lane. And you're not bothered. For you, it's normal. So sometimes I look at and say, are Kenyans depressed? Are we zombies? I mean, where is your consciousness that there are 4 lanes on Thika Road? You know that if you are slow, you keep on the left. Let fast cars go past you on the right. So a guy just blocks you and causes traffic. Another one is stuck in the middle, but so slow. So it forces you to, because there is another lunatic on the right who has refused to move. So it forces you to now overtake on the left, which is really against the traffic. So it's about us also appreciating what is the purpose of the law. The second point I want to make is in relation to these bars and all that. I think let's be very brutally honest, we talk. Our moral values and, in society have really hit bottom rock. Our morality is just gone completely down. People don't care anymore. That's why yesterday, we are discussing actually this issue of noise pollution and with bars. Now, there are clubs in this city that targets between ages 17 and 21. I was told there is one somewhere along Kiambu Road. They target ages 17 and 21. And they are fully... Strictly. And they are packed. So if you go there, you are 25-year-old, you are a dinosaur. So yeah, you are a fossil. What are you coming to do here? So strictly speaking, I think we are actually encouraging now, I think, prostitution, drug abuse. And when you see people drink a lot, it's probably depression and all that. So I think our moral values, our value system in this country, I think has just gone down.
When you're talking about the matatu, I'm thinking when you're driving, you have a different character. But when you're inside the matatu, you also have a different character. It's like we are bipolar. So when you see another car, you start attacking. Maybe the other driver is telling your matatu driver, why are you doing this? Then you as a Kenyan, you even start attacking the other person. So I don't know whether we have bipolar as a country. When you're driving, you're offended by the matatus. But when you're inside, you're very happy that he's overtaking and overlapping so that you can get to... So we have a challenge in this country.
And I think that's a very important point, Justina, you raised, because this behavior now we have normalized it. Because if I was driving, if I was on a matatu, there's no way I'll accept reckless driving. I'll shout out to the driver. But imagine Kenyans just sit there and they're happy. They can see their lives being endangered against the traffic act, traffic laws, and they're okay with it. Just because a guy is on a panda pavement, now you're forgetting. Supposing it was you walking on that walkway, and your life is being endangered.
Well, suppose that
just because you're
lunges into something.
So sometimes there's a way in which we have lost consciousness as a people.
Azikine bado unashindonga kwani mzigo zinabebonga hapo ndani. Kuna venye zingine unaona hizo matatu zinaenda shule kuna watu wanabebwa ama ni waru.
Na ukiwa ndani unafurahi venye inakimbia. I don't know.
So it's a conversation we really must have about our society generally, even as we speak about laws. You see, laws per se, laws are not self-enforcing. It takes people to actually enforce laws. Because the enforceability of laws means that we also respect the law, the rule of law. So if we all must be equal before the law. In fact, I was laughing the other day when I saw members of parliament from, I think, Western Kenya saying that Waluke must be, even including Raila himself, that Waluke must be given bail. But Waluke is convicted as per the law. So why should we now say that he must be released? Yet if you are a chicken thief, my friend, unafinywa kufinywa. Unapelekwa remand for 14 days as the DCI.
But the guy looks like he's really having a good time there. So he was smiling.
Yeah, he wasn't even in prison after. He was seated at the warden's office, smartly dressed. I think he's not staying in prison.
He goes to visit once in a while. All right. Good following. We're good to see you. Asante sana. I like keep quiet. Good morning. Watching live from Eldoret, Kiplombe Wada. Asante, good to see you. DK Cheboy. Good morning, GB. It's a beautiful morning. Salimia wageni. Mwaso, my all-time crush, Justina. Sema kimuumana.
Tacklas bwana.
Haya. Akona security hapa. Nikianza kioski yangu itafungwa. Jimmy Kagio, good morning Tacklas. Good morning to you. Have a good day. Tuko pamoja. Asante Dida Chamwana following. Thank you. Ken Lucky Nyongeza morning GB. Watching live from Buya Bungoma County. Good to see you. I didn't get to it. It's been a while. Good to see you. Mambo vipi? Habari ya Dubai. A long time. Habari watching from Dubai. Asante sana. Good to see you. Irene. It's been a while. Mwapotea sana. Dubai is treating you well. Steven Nganga Wanaina. Good morning and awesome day. Asante sana. Jimmy Kaki watching from DXP International Airport. Good to see you. Good morning. Purity Tano. It's a pleasure to see you again. It's been a while as well. Jimmy Kaki Aukot is very right. Vitu kwa ground mbaya. Haya. Kiptoa Victor Chamge Bitok Chamge Jackson Wameri Gerald Kumbe wewe ni journalist and huyu umeniona sasa Kilimo Kwech law emanates from the framework of the society Kiblangat Arab Macau Aramaru morning BK live and tuned in. All right, let's look at the newspapers very quickly. Tuone magazeti zinasema nini asubuhi ya leo. Okay. Daily Nation, MCAs won their pay tripled. Hallelujah. Sifiwe sana. MCAs. Anasema ile mnatupea ni kidogo. MCAs are saying we want our pay tripled. As on the Daily Nation. Hey, mom, and Kenya, I don't know what's going on. Maybe we just need to pick another country. Okay, lawlessness and impunity creeping back. Raila says, looking at the salaries, team says ward reps know their benefits before polls, so they should not be asking for money. Organ donation or theft, family, 6 answers on missing parts. Allah? So you go, you pick your...
I think that came from... The body was flown from, I can't remember the country, but when they inspected the body, they found that some organs were missing, which means the person was actually killed.
Yeah.
That's organ harvesting, as they call it.
All right, on the Standard, cracks rock Uhuru and Raila party. Jubilee wamesema sisi tunataka kuondoka vile kunaenda. Things are not looking very rosy there in Azimio. Looming fallout, the ghost of NASA as talking former President Uhuru Kenyatta and handshake partner Raila Odinga's Azimio coalition after Jubilee party complained of unfair treatment by ODM over nominations to the Parliamentary Service Commission, accusing the Orange Party of political deceit and conmanship. Haya, DPP AG under fire over Bangol Kashagwa case, attacks Spain in Ruto's first budget, the man battling plastics. Is it South America's time? That's on the World Cup stories. Family shock over body missing organs. That's still on the Standard. Looking in at the Star inasema vipi? The Star, a big plot to ruin Raila Uhuru Yala strategy. Kenya Kwanza MPs plan to block Azimio favorites. MPs plan to block Azimio favorites from regional parliament to brain story of Kenya's only 4 women neurosurgeons. Kanjo court where poverty of city hustlers is in cruel display. All right. Drought and banditry victim starving mom of 3-week-old baby collapses and dies in Baringo. Very sad. The state of drought right there. The People Daily as well. You tell it, tighten your belt. Seasons of austerity. Civil servants barred from travel. Allowances are reduced drastically as the Ruto administration moves to implement 300 billion budget cuts in measures that also affect the police. Page 2 to 3. That is Ross Mays. Hey, Ross Mays blamed for unga shortage. I was saying the reason why we don't have unga is because you guys are eating a lot of Ross Mays. Favorite snack, which cost about shillings 40 per piece. It is spotlight as the agency thinks its popularity has led to lower harvest in the bread basket. Yeah, okay, mambo ndio hiyo. Haya, people, Taifa Leo. Taifa Leo wanasemaje? Taifa Leo majambazi wateka miji vijiji. Wakenya wanaishi kwa hofu kutokana na kuibuka kwa magenge ya majambazi wanaotumia mabavu kuiba na hata kuwaua waathiriwa. Ukurasa wa pili, hofu kolera ikisambaa jijini Nairobi, watu 5 wakufa huku wengine wakitibiwa. Mambo ya kolera, it's interesting that we still have diseases in the century. Etoa Bashiri kombe litakuja Afrika, asema timu za Afrika zitaweka historia na kutamba kule Qatar. Maskofu waongea. Wenyekiti wa muungano wa maskofu wa kanisa Katoliki nchini ambaye pia ni askofu mkuu wa kanisa Katoliki jimbo la Mombasa, Martin Kivuva, ambaye yuko katikati pale akiandamana na askofu Philip Anyola kushoto wa taasisi wa diocese ya Nairobi na askofu Anthony Mweria wa diocese ya Nyeri, wakati wa mkutano waandishi habari ambapo maskofu 26 walihudhuria mkutano huo uliofanyika katika Holy Ghost Cathedral Mombasa. Haya, wamesema pia wataki GMO, wakati wa kanisa wametema we don't want GMO. The Business Daily, Ruto tax push suffers blow with shillings 13.1 billion shortfall in Q1. All right. Nairobi beats London in luxury property gains. Interesting. Ruto unveils Kenya-made smartphone plan and Mivida to build low-cost apartments at Garden City. Safaricom and Communication Authority face second-class action suit over SIM listing. All right. Kashagwa afunguliwa minyororo. Freedom is here. Newspapers. Any comments you want to make on the headlines?
I don't know what to say about okay, let me comment on, for example, the issue of Gachagua as reported by newspapers. You see, it's interesting that now newspapers are now excited about the fact that Gachagua's cases are being dismissed. But they are also the same newspapers that, is it just 1 year ago, were really, tightening the noose on Gachagua. So I see a lot of hypocrisy in our journalism, I wish they could question deeper why they relieved to Gachagua now. And I wish they could also question the evidence that was tabled before the charges were preferred against Gachagua. I think we need to go deeper and establish exactly why in the first place was Mr. Gachagua, Deputy President Gachagua, was actually charged in a court of law. And I'm not saying he shouldn't have been charged, but for me it smells a rat. All of a sudden, is this guy who is being, relieved? Is it because he's in power? And we must ask, DPP Haji must really come out clean and account for his decisions, because he's the same person. Because let me explain to Kenyans the process before you get charged. You see, if you commit an offense or commit a crime, the police are asked to investigate. That is the DCI. So they investigate. They put together a file. That file goes with their preferred charges. So it goes to DPP for approval, and So DPP then looks at the file, looks at the evidence, analyzes it, and then says, go ahead and charge. So the file goes back to DCI. DCI now draws a charge based on the comments and approval from DPP. Then once you are now charged, you now either get arrested, or if you have not been bailed before, you get arrested, then you are arraigned in a court of law. Okay. And now DPP takes over from there. So it's now DPP prosecuting you for the offense you are charged. So it's the same DPP that actually approved that, yes, you, Justina Wamae, you committed an offense, committed a crime. It's the same DPP now is coming to tell Kenyans, we don't have sufficient evidence. Yet, it was DPP that was supposed to have considered the evidence to sustain a charge. Because you don't sustain a charge if you do not have the evidence. If you have not analyzed the documentation and everything.
So how go happen now?
No. So something is a miss here.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. I don't know whether DPP Haji is protecting his job. I know he has a term of tenure of at least 80 years. So I don't know whether he's actually protecting his job. But he owes Kenyans an explanation. Why flip-flop? You are the same person. And actually, when Gachagua was charged under this DPP, if I'm not wrong, it was under this DPP. Yes. So this DPP should tell us what is the change? What are these changes that have happened now? Because up until before they were sworn in, 13th of September, but then in the next 2 days, there will be 2 months in office. Before 13th September, Gachagua was still, an accused person. Now that he has taken oath of office to become the deputy president, everything is falling apart. And it's not only Gashagua's case, by the way. There are many others that have been dropped, including, I think, the former senator of Meru, and I think Aisha Jum was as well. So let's not lie. We talk like I keep saying, secrecy was never invented in this world, certainly not in Kenya. Yeah? Because, is it a coincidence that all the cases we are seeing being dropped are of those people who are in government? Is it a coincidence, really?
No, probably they are looking out for the political goodwill. But you have security of tenure in your office. The challenge we face in this country is people are spineless. You're not courageous. You want to align to the government of the day. But if you're protected by the Constitution, I feel you need to do the right thing.
But Justina, it's not even about the protection of the Constitution per se. It doesn't matter. The only person now today, by the way, who is immune from prosecution, especially on matters criminal, is actually the president. So it doesn't matter whether you have got tenure of office or not. So long as you have committed an offense known to law, unless you're the president of the Republic of Kenya, you cannot hide behind that. I'm now prosecuting a case before the chief magistrate where a 91-year-old man stole from another 80-year-old man. And then this guy is trying to do is dangling the fact that, I'm an advanced age, I'm 91 years old, I should be seen. But the question that I've put before court, because we are watching brief for this case, is your advanced age an excuse for you to steal from another person? It is not. It is not. Even if it's older, same age as you, it's not.
What reason why you should not steal?
Exactly.
Why should you
steal? Exactly.
So age doesn't matter, because we know, for example, there are people who have been jailed for life. Meaning, if God keeps them alive for as long as they can, even at the age of 100 years, they still remain convicts. So this thing of saying that, political goodwill, no, political goodwill does not excuse you, first of all, to undertake your constitutional function as a prosecutor, and does not excuse you from committing an offense known to law.
That is the tragedy. My comment is on the MCAs asking for salary increase. you knew what are the perks, you knew what was the salary, but you ended up spending so much, taking a loan, selling your properties to campaign. Na itabidi, we have to change how we do politics in this country. We also have to change mindset of Kenyans. Kenyans believe that during the campaign season, it's time to reap and harvest. So it's a conversation that even Kenyans, you're to blame for this. And I always tell Kenyans, put your mindset as a business person. Think of this person, the MCA, the MP, as your employee. They're there to work for you, not for you to go and ask them for handouts. People say, atuoni mheshimiwa kwa ground. Because when mheshimiwa comes, you just want handouts. The guy has spent his cash. He has no other money to spend on you. So I feel that Kenyans, it's a mindset challenge that you're facing. So MCAs, it's unfortunate. Money, I don't feel they need any other money. You knew, even in other companies, Gerald, you're told, this is the salary. What is your expectation? You take the job or you leave it. So where are they demanding for a salary increase? I don't think it's right.
It's because, Justina, politics in Kenya has been commercialized. It's an enrichment avenue. And it's not like when you were in Punguza Mzigo, when you proposed in Punguza Mzigo, we said that reduce salaries of all public officers. We need to make parliament or representation very unattractive.
Yes.
So that it only attracts people who want to go and serve. And that's why today, I hope we can find the opportunity to speak about the CDF, but I can comment on it very briefly.
I think we'll go there as a topic. I think it's a topic.
So I think for me, we are failing. If you look at, for example, this agitation for more perks and salaries, it's more about enriching ourselves and recouping. And this is the lesson to Kenyans. If you line up for these G handouts of 50 bob, 100 bob, remember that person is now investing. It's an investment opportunity for you.
Yes.
And I know shares.
It's a good business. Yeah, he's buying shares. So at the end of the day, he wants to see how my shares are actually doing in the stock market, which is in the politics. Yeah. So don't be surprised when you're denied services by a person who bribed you. And to be honest with you, and I will tell these Kenyans for free, some of us who interact a lot with these politicians, they say, wananchi ni wajinga sana. Wanafikiri ati mimi, nitakuja sijui niuze pesa, ng'ombe yangu, niuze sijui shamba yangu, kitu yangu, alafu nikuja niwapatie pesa ati bure. I have to get it back.
Mimi si mjinga.
Mimi si mjinga. And you know what? They get it back 3 times. So that even if they fail next, the third scoop, let's say scoop, they scoop it 3 times. So only the third scoop is used in re-election. Kiumana kabisa at least anabaki na kitu. So it's a business, it's an investment opportunity. So the sooner Kenyans actually style up and look at the plans people are giving them, who is giving the best plan, transformative plan. And now acha nikwambie 50 bob 100 bob haiwezi kukujenga.
Alafu utaikula siku moja in 5 years.
Haimalizangi siku moja.
Hata ukipatia 50 bob, let me tell you, assuming that you are a parent, even under kadogo economy, you not even feed your family.
Hata unga inunue.
Yeah, hata unga yenyewe inunue.
Haya.
So wananchi are to blame, to be honest.
Yeah.
Keep talking. But if you want to see, MCAs are also picking this cue from the top.
Yes.
Yeah. As soon as the members of parliament were sworn in, you had Tabitha, the billionaire, the one who is being charged, I don't know, for evading tax in billions. Or, there is a lot of smallness in our politics. This is a person who's supposed to be a billionaire, but all she was asking for,
Well.
Yeah, Gary.
Muriake mauta. Kipto good morning to you. Joseph Kimani tuko ndani. Asante. Hilary Mengichi Bitok, your best friend and your follower. Thank you so much, Hilary. Good to see you, my brother. Obed Kim, good to see you. I met you the other time again. Obed Kim, asante. Thank you so much for always following us. You've been a fan of the tackle since day one. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure bumping into you. As our moral compass has shifted off through north. It surprises you that only less than 50% of parents or adults are genuinely concerned with the mushrooming of these joints in the states. It is very sad. Generally, we have lost our sense of right and wrong, even though we are a very spiritual nation. Quote, very related in quotes. Like Jesus said, we now call light darkness and vice versa. We must become law-abiding citizens. There you go, Ekuru. It's moral decadence. Lagat MCAs are contractors for men and even casual workers in work projects. Now, in other news, I almost forgot this one. I think I'll send you guys something on WhatsApp.
Yes.
You can check it. And it's about this Pakistani. He's called Imran. Is it Imran? What's the name of the guy who was killed in Magadi?
Or Sharif. Something
Sharif. So, you remember the same morning that he was shot, the Kenyan authorities were so quick to give us a report on what happened. And so there's a contrast in the report that came out from Pakistani post-mortem that was done on the journalist. And we have a seriously contrasting resource between Pakistani and Kenya. Now, it leaves us wondering, well, who is saying the truth? But anyway, the contrast. Kenya said he was shot on the head and chest. Kwanza na hapo hiyo ni ya Kenya. Kenya shot on the head and chest. Also Kenya shot by high velocity firearm.
No, compare them. Okay. What Pakistan is Kenya saying and what Pakistan is saying. Yeah.
Okay, let's compare. Kenya shot on the head and chest. That is Kenya. Pakistani shot in the brain and right lung.
Okay, they are being specific. Kenya was
Can you
general.
be shot on the brain?
But the brain is in the head.
No, the thing is, you can be shot in the head and it doesn't touch the brain.
The brain. Oh,
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
But you can also be shot and it gets into the brain. So you have died because the brain has been shot, not because your head was shot.
Okay.
Do you know you can survive without the head as long as the brain is alive?
Yeah. And then there are people who've been shot. I remember, for example, a former MP for, Busia, back in the days, was shot on the head, and the bullet just lodged there and they couldn't remove it because if they removed it, then he will die.
Yeah, so now you
I'm
understand.
trying to remember his name.
Now you understand now what they are saying.
Yes.
Shot in the brain and the right lung. Kenya walisema chest, au wamesema lung.
Lung. So they are specific.
I am shot by high velocity firearm at immediate range and at intermediate range. Okay.
The velocity firearm.
Yes. Wale wa Pakistan wanasema shot from close range. Car was immobile. Sisi tulisema gari kalikuwa kanaenda. Mtu akatoka bunduki akapiga akapima mahali huyu jamaa alikuwa. I don't understand the science. So,
but when I looked at the image, how the brain, the head was shattered. I think at some point either they stopped, and now that's when they pumped the 19 bullets. Because that was just not one shot, in my view. That shattered the head.
So you're agreeing with the Pakistanis?
No, I'm saying
shot from close range.
I think, to be honest, I think I somehow agree with the Kenyan. This must have been a very high velocity firearm. Intermediate range. But these guys are saying shot from close range. And the car was immobile. I don't know.
So the first shot, the car was moving. Then the next shot, they had stopped.
So maybe Kenya is referring to their first shot because it must have been high velocity. But now when the car stopped, that's when the Pakistani came now to see at close range because the car then was immobile. But we are laughing, but it's a serious matter.
It's a serious issue.
Kenya shot while the car was moving. I think you talked about the mobile. Pakistan says the guy was tortured for up to 3 hours.
Well, but we saw the pictures showing that the man was still slouching forward while sitting in the seat, or in the front seat. Okay. So when did the torture happen?
Okay.
In
so
the
you
car?
agree with
In the car?
you're agreeing with Kenya.
I think Kenya makes sense.
Kenya, another story on Pakistan says fingernails removed, 2 fingers broken.
So during the torture process,
Well, that's Pakistani. Fingernails removed, 2 fingers broken. Yes. But Kenya is saying cause of mistaken identity.
Yes.
So they had no prior knowledge of him.
Yes.
Yeah. So until kama finywa kidogo. Akatoa makucha na akavunja vidole.
I think Pakistani, in my view, their context of Pakistani is that this is a man who was already on the run and was being followed. Because remember his story started in Dubai, Well, maybe Pakistan, where he fled. Came to Dubai, I think was there for a while, and Dubai government told him outrightly, listen, we have got very good working relationship with Pakistani. Most of our laborers are killed from Pakistani, so you have to leave. So the next thing he does is he comes to Kenya because he has a relative, he has a brother here in Kenya. So he hangs in Kenya for like 3 months, again, his visa is coming up for renewal. And the Kenyan authorities, from what I hear, told him, we also have a very good working relationship with Pakistan. So he may have to leave. In that process, I think the guys were, reining in on him very slowly because he was being pursued. So I think that's probably when so Pakistan is referring to the context that after this guy was now captured, I think they tortured him. But I don't know if they tortured him for 3 hours, they placed him in the car. And why didn't they kill the other people? So this thing of torture doesn't make sense to me because there were other passengers in the car. But the target was him.
Okay.
I feel Pakistan is trying to save face from their home ground. They are shifting the blame to the Kenyan authorities. So they don't want their people to feel, they know what happened. I think the Pakistanis know what happened, but they're shifting the blames to Kenyans. So I agree, we don't know, but I feel Kenyans have no really a big interest as the Pakistanis. So who stands to benefit? The Pakistanis. So they're making Kenyans look bad to shift the blame to Kenyans. That's my feeling.
We didn't kill him.
So for example, we look at the other point from Pakistanis, that bullet lodged in lung. But when the picture we saw, it was his head, we could not even see his shoulders, we could only see the head. That was actually shattered. So when did the bullet go to the lung? I will have thought that the lungs is somewhere.
So the one went to the chest, went to the lungs.
It swam too.
Anyway, we wait. I think let pathologists tell us.
But Ekuru, where is the lungs? The lungs are on the chest.
Yeah, but okay, I'm trying to reconcile the image I saw of the deceased person, because I could only see his body from here upwards, and he was like lounging forward with the head now shattered. So I will assume the lung is somewhere here. It was below. So unless we are saying the bullets on the side,
because on the Kenyan one they said shot on the chest.
On the chest.
So I would imagine that now the chest is here.
And the lungs are inside.
The lungs are inside the chest. So the bullet that went from Kenya into the chest went to when it got to Pakistan, it was in the lungs.
Then it had flown back.
maswala nyeti lazima tuachie experts.
I died 10 to 30 minutes after being shot. No, that's it. And I think this story, it depends on who is telling it.
Yes.
I think the narrative depends on who is telling it and the interest that are in the narrative. The story of Pakistan, of course, cannot align with the Kenyan one, depending on as well because this is public consumption. Yes. This is what you're telling the public, and also the stories around this person. Many people demand to know, what happened to this person. They want to know the story. So I think Pakistan's, the way you, Justina, is saying, is just trying to find their way out of it.
But let's draw parallels, talk, and not to say that I'm not belittling the death of this Pakistan person, because a fellow human being,
Yes,
and he did not deserve to die. But there's too much analysis of this Pakistani, the death of this Pakistani. Yet even at our own home ground, we have many people who have disappeared, many people who have been killed, but we don't analyze their death with the zeal with which we analyze this Pakistani. So what's wrong with us Kenyans? Or what's wrong with our government? Is it because another government is involved? Why don't we begin by even analyzing the most recent deaths of fellow Kenyans? Let's also have the pathologists who conduct these autopsies.
Yes.
Also tell us how these Kenyans died, especially those from, say, for example, bodies collected from River Yala and others. Let's also see the autopsy report of these fellow Kenyans. We now seems to really advance more to analyze more the death of foreigners, which is still not right because it happens on our soil. But of our own, we are not given this information in the public domain. They didn't die in a hospital because of an illness or whatever, or an accident. But they died mysteriously, their bodies were dumped. So yet we don't get the analysis of their deaths the same way we get analysis of the death of a foreigner.
Okay.
Tuache kuwa vigeugeu.
Tuache kuwa vigeugeu. Silas Kangogo, her new member, been following his good tackling real issues. Say hi to Justina and Mwesha. Asante sana. Thank you so much and karibu sana to the tackle. John Rugumi, LT discussion. Steve Touch. Our MCAs hawakuwa wanajua how much they will earn after they get elected. Okay, falling. Jared Namunane from Wilson Airport watching. Good to see you, Steve. Touch my guy. Kithumu Kandara falling. Asante sana to Kithumu Kandara. Good to see you this morning. Kiblaga Daramaru. Asante sana. Good morning. All right. In other news, Jubilee has threatened to move out. Even before we get to Jubilee, I think we stick to the salaries first. So you say they're getting a cue from the MCs are getting a cue from the top.
Yeah.
Now the MPs yesterday they ganged up, the majority and the minority. They have ganged up against the Speaker Wetangula, and they have given him an ultimatum that we are giving him 1 week to release CDF funds or we paralyze house operations. Saying we are not going to vet PSs, we are going to vet all the other guys. We are not going to give us our money, our monies. Remember, the CDF case is still in court. I think it was decided that it was illegal, so they're still trying to fight it out. Last week, the KQ pilots were striking, and the police were telling them, "Why are you guys striking now? And the economy is bad. Why do you think the country is going to get money to give you? You need to be patriotic. Don't sabotage the economy." Hallelujah. Parliament.
They talk.
Huh?
The public bank is being robbed. What MPs are doing is no different from robbers who have invaded a bank and they are robbing it. So in this particular case, the public bank is being robbed by members of parliament. And I say this because of the point I made earlier, that members of parliament today, who we call members of parliament, let's use now MPs in quote, I don't think they don't understand what their functions are. Let me refer Kenyans, since this is Sharia Wiki, I hope Kenyans have downloaded the app as we advised them last week. The app or Constitution of Kenya, which you can actually download online. I want you to go to Schedule 4 of that Constitution. In Schedule 4, it defines what's called the functions. Yeah? The functions, let me just read so that was the same at ni Ekuru Aukot ameleta hii maneno. Unajua anaweza kuleta. If you look at Schedule 4 of that part of our Constitution, it divides the functions into two. Functions of the national government and functions of the county government. What is glaringly missing in that division of functions is what are called functions of members of parliament, especially in relation to service delivery, because those two functions, part A is national government, part B is a county government, and it relates to delivery of services to the people of Kenya. The law is already established. Members of parliament do not deliver any services to the people of Kenya. They do three fundamental things. Represent, because you have been sent by a constituency. You go and represent. Number two, account or oversight the national government, including the county government itself. You know, they think they only oversight the national government. They can also oversight the county government. They can bring a motion about how their county is performing. And then the third one, very critical, is to legislate. And part of legislation is, for example, to table even a policy document that can be debated in parliament. Those are the cardinal functions of a representative, a member of parliament, a senator. Matters development has since been left to the county government or the national government. If the county government is not able to deliver certain functions, the Constitution is again very clear. From Article 6, it talks about the cooperation and coordination between the two levels of government. And it gives a formula in Article 187. It talks about the transfer of functions between two levels of government. Transfer of functions and powers between two levels of government when that function or power can effectively be realized in that level of government. And it comes under an agreement. Then in Article 189, it talks about how that cooperation between the two levels of government can be done. Members of parliament are glaringly missing in all these provisions of the Constitution. So these people should really stop this nonsense. And in any case, how can they ask, even for salary increment, for money to be delivered in CDF, when already counties are bleeding? You know, and let's also look at the context we talk, Justina. Right now, Kenyans and animals, you know, sometimes back maybe it used to be the Kenyans dying, but now we are even talking about Kenyans and animals dying. Now we have even taken relief food to the wild, to the national parks. We have taken relief water. I've seen the other day, KWS actually taking water to the national parks to save animals. So how insensitive can you possibly be? And then they're saying they want to strike. I mean...
When I look at this conversation, it takes me back during the vetting process. Yeah. They were asking the nominees questions, and you're asking yourself, is this MP in Kenya or is just come? Like the lands nominee, you're asking him, what are you going to do about the cartels? They're the ones who've been even in parliament. What have they done about it? So they're trying to show Kenyans how they're good at asking questions, but doing the task. So for my role, my question is, what I expect the MPs to do. You know, you can liken to, we say best practices in other industries. What are other people doing? Maybe it's a show, but it's something to open up your mind. House of Cards. Do you ever see Frank Underwood trying to say, oh, give a CDF to build a school? No. His work was, discussing bills, coming up with the laws that are making sense, that are receptive to Kenyans. So I feel it is not right for them to push for this. Kibaki had given them at that time under the old constitution as a way of development being felt on the ground. But we have a new constitution. Let us adhere to it. We do not want a conversation of always changing this constitution. As it is, let us give it time to even grow. Let us give it time to live. Let us see also governors, how they're going to perform. It's even a good time for them to really overset county governments and expect more for their people. But this issue of Mheshimiwa anaonekana during bursary, that is when you're being seen on the ground. Can we see you with the policies and the bills that you're putting in place? So I think when you look at maybe the medical fraternity, what Gainas were doing 30 years ago, they have evolved. Also leadership in this country should evolve. Kenyans should also expect their leaders to evolve. Their characters of Kenyans should also evolve. So can we accept and agree to grow and move away from ECSI? Mheshimiwa is giving me a bursary. Bursaries are also duplicated. The governor has his own bursary, MP has his own, MCA bado anataka zake. Can we just consolidate those things? Let the county government do their role, national government do their role, MPs to do their own, so that we can have bills that are making sense, not things that are rushed so fast, they're not even relating to what the ground is feeling.
Let's shatter the myths about this CDF. One of the truth that is untold is that CDF is a campaign tool for members of parliament. That's why they agitated about it. Simple and clear. A lot of CDF money has been stolen. You will hardly actually see any development from CDF substantively. There could be some semblance of development, but CDF is principally a campaign tool. And this is money that the MPs want to use to actually accommodate their campaigners on the ground. Number two, they want to use this money and say, ati mheshimiwa ndiye alijenga hii. It's not his money. This is taxpayers' money. Kama anataka kujenga hiyo shule, si ajenga na pesa yake sasa tuone. Awache kuomba pesa ya taxpayers' money, and then he goes to and concocts some structure. Then he says, mimi ndio nimejenga. Ati daraja nimejenga. Nitawajengea daraja. No. In fact, we need to change the lingua here, Justina. Politicians should not be allowed to say, I will build a road for you, I'll build a school for you. It is us Kenyans who are building those roads for ourselves, because it's our sweat, it's our taxes. So this nonsense that member of parliament is actually... in fact, let's make the work of members of parliament very easy. Let the money go to the county. Let him now monitor what development is coming to my constituency, and call the county government to account and call the national government to account. Unajiwekea mizigo ya nini? Why not allow just somebody else? There's already somebody, an CEO in the county, including your constituency, who has been given that job. So sit back and watch what he does with the money. Your business is to ask him questions. Actually, if I was a member of parliament, I'll be happy. I'll be cashing in a check, every month, because my work is very simple. And I don't want to go into supervising projects or whatever. Let county governors supervise those projects. And my business is to question. Yeah? What more do you want?
Getting right deep into it. You've talked about Punguza Mzigo, and I see today you are right on brand. You even have your t-shirt, Punguza Mzigo, you're right on brand. And I don't know if these are some of the burdens that you think should be taken off, the burdens of Kenyans. And people have also argued that it's too late, it's too early. to talk about amending the constitution. It's too early to say the Muzigo is much, but you've been consistent on this conversation that the Muzigo is so much on Mwananchi. What are some of the things that you need? What is the idea around
Maybe
bringing
let's
back
talk
Mzigo?
about the idea that is it really too early? Because for me, what is too early, I'll tell you, is that crap. I'm sorry to use this, my French language, from Fafi MP, saying that we must now abolish the constitutional term limits. That for me is too early. We don't need it. In fact, we don't even need to discuss that at all. But it is not too early for me to say, looking at Parliament, for example, this is one of our proposals, that Kenya is actually overrepresented. Because if you look at, for example, even the kind of, for lack of a better word, maybe just to massage their ego, if you look at the quote unquote, the kind of wisdom that's coming from Parliament, it's really no wisdom at all. Because look, they are focusing more on CDF, they are focusing on their salary packs, they are focusing on issues that actually do not even relate to the current context of Kenya. So for me, Punguza Mizigo is very timely, because if you look at, for example, even the representation of Kenyans, I don't think we really deserve a parliament of 416 representatives. We don't. And you know, if Kenyans can go back to the original document that we actually, the first bill that the Punguza Mizigo Constitutional Amendment Bill of 2019, we did a case study, and I'll just share with you 3 examples. Yeah, and maybe Justina can also comment what she thinks. On the question of overrepresentation, we say that, look at Kenya, a population of 50 million Kenyans with 416 representatives, with an economy like the one we have, with the droughts, with the famine, with the problems. I mean, really. And yet, we draw a parallel between the fact that, 416 members of parliament are drawing about 40 billion annually. 40 billion. That includes their park sitting allowance, I don't know, travel, whatever. Now, contrast that to any county, pick any county. But since we're in Nairobi, let's pick Nairobi. Nairobi have a population of about 5 million. But Nairobi gets about, 12 billion annually. Now, you have 5 million Kenyans who are expect to have clean water, security, road, schools, and all that to live a decent life. And then 416 people taking home 40 billion. Is that fair? And then the other question about the overrepresentation is the value that comes from that representation. What is the value we are deriving from these representatives today? Is 2 months after election, is changing the presidential term limit, just 2 months after election, a value we're getting as a people of Fafi constituency? Is the agitation for CDF a value at a time when people are dying of drought and famine? So we've also looked at the value of representation, where members of parliament are actually running away from their cardinal responsibility of represent, oversight, and legislate. They are going into other issues. But also look at the quality of the people who are elected. Then the other angle of a representation, wouldn't you agree today, Justina, that the 1,450 wards, 1,450 wards of Kenya are in themselves representatives of the people of Kenya at the county assemblies? That is representation. The governor is a representative. Women rep is a representative. The way the county election is being choreographed, a governor will pick a deputy from another region to represent. So that's why we are saying the president and his cabinets are representative, even the way they are being appointed by dint of Article 130, that you must look at the regional and ethnic diversity of the people of Kenya. That is representation. So we are saying we are overrepresented. We don't need many. We need to reduce. Then with that comes the issue of decreased salaries. We must cap salaries of public representatives. And we are saying in Punguza Mizigo, if you want to earn more money, go and start an industry. Go corporate. Start unafungua biashara. Public money cannot be a business. Okay. Should even be a reward. We've even said, amongst that maybe I should allow Justina to comment on those 2 issues before I go to the other one.
My thoughts are that I don't know whether Kenyans have resigned to the fate and we've given up. There are people who have voted in and they say, wacha tukupatie ujisaidie, you know? Yourself hujajisaidia. But you're saying, wacha tu uende ajisaidia. And then after 2 months, unaanza tena kugombana, oh, the government is not working for me. I want Kenyans to check into the mindset of a businessman. That these people who are supposed to work for you. So what is the caliber? What is the quality? What is the value you expect from them? The moment Kenyans check into that mindset, I believe things are going to change. But you know, when you go to ask for votes, Kenyans are like, no, others are told, endo utafute pesa. Others are saying, wacha tukusaidie. So I feel Wanjiko is the one who does not know what she really wants. Wanjiko hajielewi. That is my general feeling. So on overrepresentation, it is true. But how about we move away from being in politics is lucrative, have industries, encourage farming, encourage creative industry. Let's have other revenue streams, that encourage YouTube to have a complex here. Google, people are employed. Can we look at ways that Kenyans will not see that being a politician is where I'll make it? There are other opportunities, industries. So the conversation should move away from siasa and iko na pesa. But I think our leadership is not thinking about that. I feel they are focusing on how am I going to clinch to power. The MP is already focusing on 2027. We are losing it, in my opinion.
You don't be talking. When you make money in any society and you become a rich person, your wealth then should be able to impact the larger part of the society. Like the way we can see people like Elon Musk, the guy of Microsoft, Kina Zuckerberg and others who have invented something. Yes, they are billionaires, but you can also see how their wealth, their invention has actually impacted. Now, these members of parliament of ours, we saw now how they are billionaires. Even including from cabinet secretaries and all those people, yeah. But how do these billions of theirs actually impact society? Some of them have been in parliament for close now 30 years or even more. So you will imagine, yes, you have accumulated wealth. What industry have you built that actually even employs the Kenyans? And why isn't that industry so conspicuous to our eyes? You are the richest, but when you look at the KRA list of taxpayers, you don't feature anywhere. Exactly.
Cinema, Kenya. Right. So what's the plan around Punguza Mzigo now? What are the proposals?
So the other proposal, of course, the proposal was, over-representation, reduce salaries, increase more money to the counties. And our argument is very, very simple. The Constitution says at least 15%. And by the way, we may not even need to amend that part of the Constitution to achieve this. What we are lacking is political goodwill to say people who understand simple English. And I'm assuming that people went to school. And you see that this is an English-speaking country. We're even referring to English in our Constitution. But it seems to me that people do not understand basic English terms like at least. The Constitution says at least 15%.
Najua kila mtu aelewangi. At least ndio inao kusema nini, isipite ama isipite kwenda juu ama isipite kwenda chini.
Isipite chini ya 15%, not less than. So 15% and above. So, and the question that Punguza Mizigo is putting on the table is this. At least means you can even go up to 50, even 80%.
Or 100.
Why do we say this? Maybe not 100, because the national government also needs some money. Why do we say this? We say this for a very simple reason. What is Kenya? Who are Kenyans? And where are Kenyans? The people you call Kenyans are actually in the wards, in the constituencies, in the counties. What you call the national is an abstract reality.
Okay.
The real reality is when you follow the people of Kenya wherever they are and where they actually need services of education, of security, food security, health, good roads, all those things. That's when you actually can say this country called Kenya enjoys certain services. So that's why for us our argument is, why does the national government hold 85% of revenue, taxes, while counties only get 15%? Yet it is at the counties that you have the people of Kenya in all the 47 counties. That's why they need services. So our proposal as Punguza Mizigo is to increase allocation to the counties to at least 50%.
Yeah. 50%.
And with that, we have also proposed that we must have a lean national government. Because counties are also governments on their own. So why do you have a bloated government up here? And we say this also because a lot of our money goes to recurrent expenditure, meaning it's just paying people. Their travel, their allowances, whatever. So it's not going into development. So we are saying, no, once you have a lean government, then let more of the money go to the counties. And that's why we are saying at least 50%. With that, there's the other rider in Punguza Mizigo with the proposal, which is that let's now create what we call a ward development fund. With the ward development fund, you're able to address many issues. For example, Bitok, if you want to measure the poverty index in any country, you don't use the macro level. You use a micro. So I come to a village or to a ward, I look at the poverty levels. Then I'm able to now plan and say, okay, in this village, the main problem is health. The main problem is food or security. So then I plan money in accordance to the priorities of that particular village. And that's why we are proposing to create a ward development fund. Not necessarily as in the context of CDF that's given to an MCA, but to be a conditional grant. Yeah. The truth for the matter be talk, and I was privileged to go around this country during the constitution-making process, but also during Punguza Mizigo, I went to at least 29 county assemblies to have a debate with the MCAs. And all the MCAs tell us, Justina, is this, that if you are not in good talking terms with your governor, your ward is sidelined. And yet that ward is part of that county. And the constitution does not discriminate on that ward based on your political affiliation. After all, Article 38 of the Constitution is absolutely clear on political rights. Everybody has got the right to form and belong to any political party. So why when it comes to development, I start seeing that we will be talking to a UDA, Justina Wamae tingiza miti, Ekuru Aukot mtu wa third way. You know, that should not feature when it comes to service delivery. So that's why we are saying, let's demystify this. Because MCAs were telling us, pesa inakuja ndio kwa county. Like it doesn't go beyond the county headquarters. Because now the governor becomes some big shot, some king. And we have also said, with Punguza Mizigo, we don't need the positions of deputy governor. It's a decoration. You know, you can have a cake. You don't necessarily need the icing on the cake. You will still have the cake. So let's eat the cake.
Bila utamu.
No, hata hiyo utamu.
Keki iko na sukari.
Keki tayari iko sawa.
So akitanga hiyo vitu ya juu pia.
No, hizo madecoration. Saizi tukikupatia birthday cake. Hata tukiweka hapo Bitok at sijui what. Does it matter? But we are not eating that decoration of Bitok at sijui 30. We're actually going to the real cake. So we want Kenyans to eat the real cake.
What stands out for me on the Punguza Mizigo is introducing a very high standard of, leadership, right? And people who are not performing being convicted, and the corrupt. I want, when you're given a position, I want a day that when in this country you're given a position, you carry the burden of Kenyans. That you're there to just serve them, do the right thing, what you feel is right for the Kenyans, give your skills, put them into action. Maliza kazi yako uende.
Maliza uende.
Hiyo ndio tunataka. Umalize kama wa Kenyans are saying, huyu mtu alitufanyia kazi. That is, I'm hoping one day we'll get there. But what is really making us not get there? If for CS position, you're funded the political party. Na niwe Mkenya who requires a political party that has money. So it goes back to the Kenyan. You're the one who is encouraging all these things. Because sasa mtu anaangalia, me, this is biashara for me. I've invested my money, so I'm here to recoup. The moment we change our thinking as a country, even the leaders we aspire to have, people who have integrity, people who are not corrupt, we shall get them.
Bitok, let me respond to a question here raised by somebody called Mera Mera. And thanks for, your question. She say, Mera Mera says, the problem with counties is devolved corruption. Okay? And I agree to some degree. Yeah. So we are screwed whether it goes to counties or stays with the national government. I disagree. One of the proposals in Punguza Mizigo, which Justina has just made reference to, is to hold the corrupt accountable. We are proposing in Punguza Mizigo that we use the Auditor General report as a basis for holding people accountable. Because what Mera does not understand is that somebody has been sitting on the Auditor General report. Let me explain to you how audit happens. The auditor literally comes in the counties or in departments of government for almost 6 months. Onambembeleza, ulisema utajenga daraja. Where is this daraja? Show us the paperwork, show us this. By the time the auditor actually writes that report, he has made a finding. He or she has made a finding. Now, what we are seeing in Punguza Mizigo, that finding is not just enough. We need to go a step further. Let's now bring timelines. First, we are proposing in Punguza Mizigo, let's have a forensic audit department in the Department of Auditor General. A forensic department is forensic auditing is the gathering of evidence for purposes of a criminal trial. You're actually gathering evidence. Now, once that evidence is put in that report, what we have said in Punguza Mizigo, let's now strengthen Articles 69 and I think 79. I can't remember that off my head under the Punguza Mizigo bill. We have said, let's also introduce timelines. Relating to corruption. Once the report is released, the first person who must read that report is DPP. And we said within 5 days. Because corruption is a serious issue in this country. It's a killer disease. It's worse than cancer. It's mass murder, rather. So we've said DPP should immediately read that audit report and ask Justina, you are governor of County X. We've seen here billions of money is
accounted for.
Can you explain this to us? But you don't need Justina to explain because the Auditor General already got that explanation and Justina failed to account for that money. So we prefer charges immediately. Where there is a lacuna, we do an investigation. So it's akin to the work that DCI does. DCI investigates and say, okay, there's an offense that has been committed. They do a report. So once the Auditor General report is received, it's now for DPP to prefer charges and tell DCI, charge this person. And we have also said trials must be within 30 days. And I've spoken to auditors, and maybe you should host our chairman, Miruru Waweru, so that I explain to you as an auditor, how long does it take for me to prove that money was stolen? According to them, it does not even take a day, not even hours, because already the audit has been done and findings are there. And we have also said, gone further to say, if you are found culpable or adversely mentioned, I know people are saying, not proven until guilty. I mean, come on.
You've been mentioned already.
We lived in Kenya. That's the question of now integrity. If you are adversely mentioned, we have proposed in Punguza Mizigo, you should be barred from running for any public office. And if you are found culpable, you should be jailed for life. We're even lenient in Punguza Mizigo. We're not going the China way, where actually you are shot publicly and your family pays for that bullet. Because the state says we cannot waste a public resource, that's a bullet, because of your theft. That probably benefited your family. In Japan, they don't even wait, or South Korea, they hang themselves before the... So those are some of the proposals in Punguza Mizigo. The other proposal in Punguza Mizigo is we've looked at the commissions. We looked at chapter 15. We have got, I don't know, over 15, is it 15 commission or whatever? And we've looked at the value of those commissions vis-a-vis what Kenya is going through. For example, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. You've seen during politics, tribal hatred, vitriol being. What is the value of this commission? Even IEBC, after announcing the election, so what? For the 4 years, can they account, for example, on what they do? So what we have proposed is this. Commissions can have secretariats, but let commissioners be part-timers. And we have proposed a minimum of 3 to maximum of 5 commissioners. Because that's what the Constitution also says. And they should play it part-time. I'll give you my own personal example. I have served in the council of the University of Nairobi as a member. On part-time, we meet even when it's necessary. And we run an entire institution called the UAN. I've served as chairman of JQAT, Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, as its chairman. That time I was working in Liberia. I'll be given my schedule of meetings, ideally like 4 times a year. I will come, chair those meetings, and go back to my work. Paid some allowance, like maybe just fuel, not more than, is it 15,000 or 20,000? And what we have also done generally, and I know we may not be able to finish this Punguza Mizigo today, is the costing, what Kenyans save by this Punguza Mzigo in terms of all this proposal. We have also said in Punguza Mzigo, let's automate our election. Why is our election the most expensive in the world?
Papers with security features.
Yes,
Very costly.
it becomes a matter of life and death.
Kamago.
Yet, after the election, Kenyans still start complaining about the people they have elected expensively. And we even drew examples. For example, last time when we say that Kenya procured what they call what are those kits called?
Kims.
Kim's kits. I really forget about them because I think they don't mean much. From France, at a cost of about 3-point-something billion Kenya shillings. France doesn't use them. France just says, oh, Justina nasimama, Bitoka nasimama, Ekuru nasimama. They print a A4 paper. Wanaandika jina yako hapo. You tick against it and you go to work. Election is announced within hours. People go about it. But in Kenya, we pump our money into a country that does not even use that system. We go to a desert country called Dubai. We spend about 2.5 billion Kenya shillings printing paper, even poor quality in terms of coloration. If you looked at the coloration in the last general election. So we pump into the economy of France and Dubai about 6-something billion. 6.3 billion Kenya shillings. And we starve our own economy. We don't develop our own economy just because of an election. So what we said is we simplify election. In Punguza Mzigo, we've also proposed relating to election. Once you are a Kenyan of 18 years old, you should automatically be deemed as a voter. Using your national ID. After all, we use a national ID in voting.
Yes.
We don't actually use the IEBC.
Yeah.
So why make it expensive? You know?
All right.
Let me add on. If you're convicted and you go to jail, I think even a creative way of government to make money or revenue, have VIP jails. If these ones, we don't want to punish them, we want to eat the money they have stolen as a government. Give them VIP jails.
No.
They pay for everything.
Waende nini?
Waende hiyo kupanishiwa.
Waende industrial area.
But how are we going to recoup the money they have stolen? Sote tuwapatie maisha mzuri, but they pay for it at a high cost.
No, me, I disagree with that, Justina. You see, if you are a criminal is a criminal. Because then you are saying the law must favor certain people and treat certain people favorably. I think the point you should make is this. They must go to ordinary jail, or, better still, build a special jail of the thieves of corrupt.
So
they pay for it.
In fact, I'll go further and maybe create a museum of thieves of public money. And instead of having these enclosed walls, I put glass walls. So that Kenyans go there every weekend. Anaona huyu ndiye alituibia pesa kutoka pale Kemsa, ndiye alituibia kutoka County X.
And their family pays for that.
Yes. A museum of thieves. But which is also a prison.
So that we recoup the money. Because I think once they go to jail and we don't recoup the money, then how we make it, how we benefit.
There's the asset recovery. So what we need to do is that, because your money is your asset. Yes. So if you have been convicted of having stolen this money, then the asset recovery department must kick in. Because this is public money you stole, let's follow the money. Let's trace the money. Yes. What's your property? Even if it means selling your property, we sell your property because we know the value of the value of what you stole.
Yes.
And it's included in the charge sheet. But because it was public money, jail term alone should not be enough. We must recover that asset.
Right. And in other news again, Kenyans are continuing to complain and they're crying out. They're saying that Kenyans are being robbed even during the day. There's a young boy who was stabbed on Kiambu Road and around Ridgeways area, and he was killed during the day and robbed. And more cases of such are coming up. Kenyans are being robbed. Mchana bwana, hata si usiku tena siku hizi. Wakati unapigwa ngeta unaambiwa leta simu, leta password, leta nini, ukislake kidogo unapigwa mavisu. And there is an outcry, and I saw there's a video that I shared, and guys from Muta saying the people used to manage these guys are cops, those special unit cops who used to move around the estates, and now they've been disbanded and suppressed by IPO and all that because of extrajudicial killings, and they are saying that criminals in those estates, they're like, they know the criminal system in Kenya doesn't work, judicial criminal system. So if they arrest me, take me to the police, they are the police who give us the guns, give them the pega kitu yake na tuachilia and all that. And this is a trend that is coming up and it's becoming very alarming. I don't know, what do you guys think is the way forward? Well, these guys are saying, bring back the coppers, but these guys will be rotting already. How do we fix that?
Kenyans, to be honest about the conversation, do you want a police service or a police force? When these guys are shot, unasikia watu wanasema, extrajudicial killings. Then when the police are saying, okay, we don't want IPOA to follow us, they are hands off. Again, Kenyans are saying police are not working. So do we want a force or a service, or we want a combination of both? That is an honest conversation we need to have in this country. Another thing, during this transition period, you're seeing cops are being, I blamed for this. So cops are feeling, instead of me fighting or being seen like I'm not part of this new government, let me sit back. Let me sit at my desk. I don't want issues with anyone. But I want the civil service to realize that their political party should be something called AGIP. Any government in power. Do not align. And I don't want politicians to involve the police, and the police also should not allow themselves to be involved in politics. So as it is, there is a gap because people are scared. I don't want to be blamed like Kinoti. I don't want to be told I was in that unit. So the cops have taken a backseat. And then the thieves are saying, hey, this is free reign. Let us benefit before they come back. So the conversation should be of how do we deal with insecurity? How do we deter, the insecurity issues? But Kenyans are not honest. Mara kuna extrajudicial, Mara cops are not working. So do we want a force or a service or a combination of both? That is the question.
Justina, we don't want a force. The Constitution speaks, if you look at that, chapter 14 of the Constitution of Kenya, national security. We have moved on. It's Kenyans actually who said to us when we were writing the 2010 Constitution that they want a service. That's why we came up with the National Police Service. And then we put in structures oversighting the National Police Service, including IPOA and even the other one. What's the other one called? The Commission, the National Police Commission itself. So we have moved from that. I think the problem is much bigger. The problem for me is the fact that the country isn't working. The environment within which people can peacefully respect others is volatile. We need to go to the root cause of this problem. Why are people mugging the other? It's desperation in this country. People are sleeping hungry. People cannot just meet the basics. And let me give me. I'm very observant, even as I drive on the roads, and Do you realize that now there's an increased number of beggars, for example?
A lot.
Yes.
In the city. Sometimes back they were not that visible at every street light. And one of the groups that I want to commend, even though they are also begging, but they are begging with talent. You've seen a lot of acrobats.
Yeah, the acrobats. A lot.
I like those guys. And every time I stop by where they do their acrobatic, I definitely have to give them, because these are guys who are saying we have talent. But we are not able to apply this talent, in a
structured
income generating way.
So the problem I see is that we have actually not developed our economy properly for people to be able to. Crime will always be there, even in the most advanced societies in the world. There are certain parts, for example, New York or London or whatever, you can't even dare go that route. First of all, they will see this as a foreigner, and you'll be stopped, broad daylight. Okay, the reason for that could be other things, could be drug addiction or whatever. But at least in those countries, there are measures they are put. If you are really completely kwa finito kabisa, you go to the soup kitchen. You can get some bread and some soup, and at least you'll feed. So at least nobody will starve to death in those countries. But if you come to our country here, in my view, government is doing very little to facilitate for people to be able to make a living. Kenyans are very hardworking people. This is not to excuse the crime that they are committing against the other, but we need to go to the root cause of why there is criminality, right? Especially why there is an increase in criminality. It has always been there, but there's an increase now, and that increase in criminality is driven by an economic factor, the fact that people are not able to put food on the table, and that for me is a sad reality. When people sleep hungry in a country, to be honest, it speaks a lot.
Yes.
And one of the things that we have not been able to achieve as a country, even for this nearly now 60 years we're going into, is food security. And you see, when you talk about national security in other countries of the world, it includes food security. That we've not been able to achieve. There are countries in the world that people don't even lock their cars. You park their cars by the street and nobody will take them. Bicycles you park there. I mean, nobody will come and steal from you. Certain crimes are not spoken of because you have the opportunity to go under Eka living. Now that's the problem in Kenya. We are not really focusing, and that's why we were saying in Punguza Mizigo. Supposing we now focus the ward, forget about this thing of focusing the county, because that's so big. You're not able to pinpoint exactly where the problem is. Why don't we work with the ward level? Because at the ward level, then we can map out even unemployment.
Yes.
And then we begin to actually plan around that unemployment, if it's health issues. Somebody was posting photos of an estate in Nairobi the other day, the field. Is it Pipeline? Pipeline Nairobi. Supposing in that ward, he just called Vijana for Kibarua and said, there's Kibarua, let's clean this street, after all, we all live here. They will earn, even it may not be much, but at least you'll have kept them away from the possibility of mugging a fellow, because these people mug fellow residents, you will hardly find yourself living in certain neighborhood going to some of those neighborhoods to be mugged. It is a fellow residents that they mug. So there is desperation. And I think the conversation we should be having is, how do we really inject resources to these smallest units? Remember, Punguza Mizigo is coming up with a figure of about 100 million per every ward. So even if we reduce 100 million, say like even do 50 million per ward. So like Nairobi has what, 85 wards?
Yes.
If I'm not wrong.
Yes.
85 wards. So imagine even if you pump 50 million in all those 85 wards, you're actually reviving a local economy.
True.
In those 85 wards. It's better than give a member of parliament 17 of them 100 million. But you take this money into those wards, the economy will be vibrant. Some of the rural counties, like 30 wards, but you can imagine, even in terms of just development, linking those wards by way of road, it's easier to take development at people's very doorsteps and service delivery. And that way, you might actually arrest the desperation with our youth and this money, and you will definitely reduce crime.
Actually, speaking of which, I stand to be corrected. 30 million Kenyans applied for the green card. The green card.
Yes.
30 million.
Yes.
What does that say about people are so tired with this country?
And the managed it's only
So 20 million ndio tunataka kubaki Kenya, but 30 million want to go.
They want a way out.
Exactly.
It's a challenge.
Yeah,
and it speaks into also, we don't even want to protect our country and our territory. We are not.
But you see, Justina, exporting labor is not, every country exports labor. Even the so-called developed worlds export labor. We have seen many expatriates working in Kenya here. Even we should be able to export labor to those countries, but it needs a coordinated approach. I remember when I was a student in the UK, my friends from Namibia, I had classmates from Namibia, and they'll come to the UK as students, and then after their course, after 1 year, their government had negotiated an agreement with Great Britain for them to remain for 2 years, at least to work. Either in supermarkets, in the McDonald's, in the, whatever, hospital, care homes, for 2 years, but they must go back home. And it was regulated. So Kenya can still afford an opportunity for our young people by actually reaching out to countries where labor is needed. For example, Saudi Arabia, yes, is an employer in terms of domestic workers, but that is not coordinated from the national level. Because we allow our people to go there and to be tortured and to be killed. We are not having a conversation with that government and telling them, yes, you need labor. You need labor. But why are our people being tortured? Because there is no coordinated approach between the two levels of government. Why are we not hearing Philippines being killed in Dubai? Why are we not hearing Pakistanis being killed in Dubai? The fellow whose death we were discussing earlier was actually expelled out of Dubai or was asked to leave Dubai based on one simple thing, amongst others, that Pakistani is a labor, is a labor provider for the UAE, the Emirates. So we don't want to spoil that
relationship.
You see, Kenya could do the same thing. There are countries in this world today that actually need labor desperately, certain categories of labor. So it's just that we have got a very lackluster government that does not think critically. You think government cannot employ everyone.
True.
Even the people now who supported UD, I'm telling you, there are those who are crying premium tears because they are saying, "Mbona mimi siko kwa serikali?" There are people who miss CS positions.
But I feel 30 million, some of them are so frustrated.
Lakini skiza ni ukweli bitok. No, but it is true. Even I know even some of the guys in the inner circle of William Ruto who are not nominated. So what the fundamental point I'm making is this: government cannot employ everyone, but it can create an environment within which you can seek employment, either internally or even externally.
Well, speaking of which, goes back to Schedule 4. Actually, MPs have a lot of work. They should even do, creative bills on the foreign policy, foreign affairs.
Yes.
They have so much work. Wachana na hizi CDF.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a conversation that that is a job they can do. But my feeling was that 30 million of Kenyans, if you ask many of them, they're just frustrated. They hate this country. So again, are you going because you're frustrated?
Justina, you and I have run for public office, and the reality is this: if you look at your WhatsApp, your M-Pesa, and even your messages, people think because you run for public office, you have got
so
this
much
money that you must give them, and people ask you now even for bonga points, so that they can redeem for food.
Kama una pesa nitumie bonga points.
Yes, because now you can redeem. You can use bonga point to buy food. So the truth for the matter is, the situation is very dire on the ground.
Yes.
People are asking for basic things. Like Jalala, to me, to 200.
Yeah,
200.
cool,
Maybe for you and I, you wonder, okay, what can I do with the 200? When was the last time you actually spent 200 if it's not in a parking, paying for your parking? Yeah. Maybe paying for your parking or anything. Even your airtime, I'm sure you don't buy airtime of 200 bob. You probably buy more than that. But there are people who need 200 bob, even 100 bob to put food on the table. That's how bad the situation is.
In the comment section, Mungalita continue all the way from Coventry, United Kingdom. Good morning to you. This Nyamasidia with spoken money for MPs. Ekuru Aukot and Justina should be candidates for 2027 presidential race.
That's tukata akaenda kwa tingiza miti. Alafu shortly akatoroka.
Whenever you make a beautiful couple.
Politically.
Yes. Can we clarify there?
You look very nice on a poster. Charles Mungai, great minds falling from Glasgow, Scotland. Thank you so much, brother Charles. Charles has actually also invited us to Glasgow. He said we go to Glasgow.
Yeah.
To check a show. Yes, I started to pick a show. You used to look at the way things work there.
Yeah. Glasgow is beautiful.
The way things work there. Msikia? Ule mambo inaendelea dunia hiyo ingine.
It's only 8 hours.
8 hours only. Haya. Mungai, we will come. Turakuja. The problem with counties is direct corruption, so we exclude whether it goes to counties or stays with national government. I think Ekuru had responded to that. Kimani Alex, devolution has potentially enabled citizens and civil society to mitigate corruption. The further devolution, the better. Okay? Ngwana Junior falling from Ekuru County could see you. Kimani Alex, this approach is efficient, putting pressure on politicians and public officials to alter the power structures and descriptive norms in the society. However, the impunity situation, lack of resources and political institutions hampers this relationship, which lowers the incentive for corrupt individuals to avoid engaging in corrupt practices. Okay. Jimmy the police boss refuted the mugging claims. Amesema watu hawapigwi. Okay. Steve Touch Mugai. Anasema Kandara, asante sana tu Kandara. Abbas Njuguna. Good to see you, Abbas. It is so saddening and heartbreaking when the authorities concerned or entrusted engaged in same criminal activities instead of fighting against it. Steve Touch Mugai anauliza the general between what's in Aukot's finger. Sinipete.
What do you mean?
Pete. Nataka kuza mambo ya Rajier tena.
We're talking about this.
This
one. No. I'm not in that ministry.
I want to declare that I know Ekuru Aukot as an altar boy, former altar boy. Yeah. So
at the very least, I'm a traditionalist.
Now you convert. You converted
from where?
from being an altar boy. Now you're a traditionalist.
Hapana, hiyo mambo altar boy tuliachana nayo zamani.
Okay. Yeah.
See, I told you one of my criticism about the worship and religion in this country. It doesn't really reflect on changing our society for the longest time, by the way. Now, see, to Kobaya, because you see, we talk, and we have said this with you, we've spoken about this with you many times in this show. Kenyans are very funny people, or we are very strange people, not funny. You pray in a political rally, and then kidogo after that, tunaanza kutukanana. We pray for food, we pray for water, we pray for anything. In fact, I think people even pray for alcohol before they partake of it. Maybe we even pray before we start insulting and fighting each other.
So immediately after you pray.
Yeah. So I've decided spirituality is the way for me.
Okay.
You know these things. You know, even when you pray in a multitude in a church, in communion with others, but at the end of the day, the relationship is between you and your God. Yeah, it's a personal. It's a personal relationship. That Rabashaka does not.
It's a communion.
But I can even see now the dramatization. The dramatization in those so-called, some of those churches. It disgusts me, to be honest.
Movie. Then kuna mwingine wa karateka. Anapiga karate.
Yeah, I saw that.
The correction for Dubai is not Saudi Arabia. Okay.
No, I think the point I was trying to make is that, yes, Dubai is not Saudi Arabia, but the point I was trying to say is this, that looks like Saudi Arabia, UAE, has actually sort of negotiated with those governments, respect for their people. Kenya does not care what Saudi Arabia does to our people. So the question that we should be raising here is, what is the value of a foreign mission in Saudi? In Riyadh, what is the value? But it looks like Pakistani, the Philippines and other countries have deliberately said to the leadership of UAE, okay, you want labor, we'll facilitate labor, but we want certain fundamentals about our people, respect for their rights and all that. But in Kenya, you're on your own.
Also,
and yes, we should be able to call out Saudi Arabia. What the heck? Why are people coming back in coffins? Why do they confiscate my personal document? Passport is a property of the government of Kenya. When an employer takes away that passport and keeps it, who the hell is she or he to keep the property of another government and actually refuse the bearer of that document to have it, which is his property? And it's well guaranteed under Article 12 of our Constitution. All documents that, government gives, every Kenyan is entitled to them. So I think that conversation for me is what I want Kenya to have with the UAE.
But they can't. They say put your money where your mouth is. Kenya doesn't have money. Saudi Arabia and UAE have a lot of money. So even you as an ambassador, what are you going to tell someone? So we also need to up our game in terms of having our own wealth as a country. When you have something, you can put your voice out there.
But then, Justina, what then will be the difference between Kenya today and the slave traders of Africa in the years? There's no difference, because then we are allowing enslavement of our people, torture of our people, because it is true, they're being enslaved. Some of them, we've seen videos, So how can our government be complicit in the enslavement of our people? Because our people are treated. I even saw another video, so disgusting, that this woman took a pad, I don't know whether with a menstrual or whatever, put it in a water and then force this Kenyan lady to drink the water. Sure. If I am actually a president of our country, or even, why on earth will I accept
allow that?
Mistreatment of my national.
Government is hiding behind people migrating, saying they are providing opportunities abroad. But the truth of the matter is they have failed to provide jobs or opportunities locally. Till people are starving, I like the ideas. Keep it up. All right. Lenny Marisin watching from Ekuru, good to see you. Lengay, Paul following from Southern Pipers. Julie watching from Thika. Right, good to see you. Finally, Sakaja has been barred from vetting his cabinet. The Nubian community has gone to court, and also the Islam community, Muslim community, have gone to court. Now Sakaja is being told, all your horses. Now, judicial activism, or there is a legit case against these people?
My humble opinion, judicial activism without a cause. Because you see, inclusion is very important. It's being referenced under the the County Government Act, even under our constitution. But the reality is that not everyone can serve in government, because when the Nubians, and I sympathize with them as a minority, and the Muslims, because some of the reason I'm told has been advanced. I've not read the petition. I've actually sought for that petition because I want to read and critically analyze it. One of the reasons I'm told is that they are an integral part of Nairobi. They control businesses in Nairobi. I don't know how true it is, but I'm just saying this is what I've read I've seen on social media platforms. Now, let's be practical. Nairobi County is the home of probably the 44 tribes of this country.
Yeah.
You will find all the 44 tribes in this country in the county of Nairobi.
That's true.
Even in my county, Turkana, my native county, Turkana, you will go there and you'll find more than the Turkana. Probably half of Kenya resident in Turkana County. And I can say this of all counties of Kenya. Now, is this petition saying that a county governor must therefore have the 44 ethnic communities represented in his cabinet? That's not true. It's not going to happen because they're opening floodgates. Even I right now, as a Turkana, I can rush to court and put an application and say, I'm a resident of Nairobi. I've lived in Nairobi, in fact, since my days at the University of Nairobi. So I'm entitled as a Turkana to be in Sakaja's cabinet. I could have also gone
as the only Turkana in Nairobi.
Well, not the only one. We are many. We are many. Yeah, we are many. We are many. Listen, tuko wengi. OGX I know OGX who are resident here. I know, some of the small tribes, who are resident here. So can they now, are they opening the flag?
Even the Chinese are now Kenyan.
Even the Chinese. Even the Chinese can say, we are resident of Nairobi. We have contributed. We have managed the SGR for the last, how many years. So include us. So for me, I think it's a purely activism, but without a cause. You see, activism is not bad when it has a cause. For me, it will fail. This petition will fail, as we like to prophesy in this show. It will fail because it doesn't make sense. Because where do you stop? You could as well question, for example, say every governor. By the way, you could question every governor. How many tribes or groups have you involved? And Muslim Lawyers Association is not the only group in Nairobi. Yeah, the Nubians are not the only tribe in Nairobi. There are many others. Yeah, so I think for me, what we should be focusing in, because
service delivery.
Service delivery.
Yes. Devoid of tribe or whoever is.
Are you being denied service because you are a Nubian?
Yes.
Or because you are a Somali? Because we have not even started it. We're not even yet there. We're already jumping the gun. Because otherwise, we could have still brought the same issue in the Ruto cabinet. Yeah. Did Ruto involve each and every tribe in Kenya?
Good question.
He did not.
What do you think?
My thoughts are that can we move away from that mtu wetu ako kwa serikali and demand for service delivery? You as a Kenyan, are you being served? Are you getting what you require? In fact, I'm always asking why. The question we should even be thinking: why should we have NHIF? NHIF has three schemes. Those ones who pay 500, those ones who pay, I think, 1,700. You get different services. So we want Kenyans to start thinking, I expect more from my government. But when we start having trivialities, saying my tribe has not been considered, we lose out. Let's be discussing, I want service delivery. This is the Nairobi I want. This is the Kenya I want. So service delivery should be the key.
Yeah, should be the key. That for me, should be the indicator.
Yes.
I mean, are we being discriminated because I'm a Nubian or because I'm a Somali? They're even lucky, at least they are. Sometimes, when I used to go to some places and after cousins, I'm going, when you're Turkana, you have PhD in law, umejaribu sana. People get surprised.
How?
So for me, I feel that is the real discrimination. Because why don't you expect to be a lawyer?
Not forgetting our Oga brothers. They are a constituency in Nairobi.
Yes.
Which are Kilimani.
At Rastafarians.
Yes.
They are constituents.
Rosemary Kaboge, competence over ethnic group and not vice versa. Clinton, where?
Because, by the way, listen, Bitok, Justina is actually raising a very important point. Today, we know we have got the gay and lesbian community in Kenya.
Yes.
They are a group. Just like maybe young Muslims. We also have the atheist community in Kenya. We have got the Rastafarian shrine. I've visited it here in Kibra. That's a community. So I think there are so many communities. If each and every community or group, I think there are even the Matatu something association. They should also then demand inclusion.
Yes.
The UN Ministry of Transport.
Exactly. So I think for me the focus should be on service delivery. And what I will urge my brothers from the Nubian community, let's not derail the formation of this county government. Let's give it an opportunity, and let's now begin to tick the boxes and to follow what is Governor Sakaja doing, right or wrong.
Haya, sawa. Tukienda nyumbani ya mwisho inaitwa nini? East African Legislative has caused a storm of dust, and now Jubilee are threatening to leave as a mayor. Yesterday on the news, on the headline, they are saying that Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta have nominated their family members, and also within the split, within Azimio, it seems like Jubilee are getting a raw deal. And now, kina Sabina Chege, kuja wamesema sisi, we want to call it quits. This marriage is not working.
You know, we can beat about the bush on this issue, but let me liken it to a marriage of convenience. It never lasts. You can conveniently get married, but devoid of true love and affection, forget about it. So it's just a waste of time. And secondly, this is just about personal interests, because I mean, Winnie Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka's son, and others, they have got every right like any other Kenyans. I think their only problem is that the association with their fathers, who have enjoyed privilege in the political scene for a long time, and of course noting the fact that there are many other Kenyans even in those political parties who could easily be rewarded, because ELA for me is a reward system. You know, because if you ask me, for example, that's the question I was going to ask. That's the question I was going to ask. For example, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka's son is going for the second term. Yes. I'm trying to remember, okay, what did he even say as a Yala MP? Yeah? I'm going to Google saizi tuone kama hata alizungumza.
Google kwanza wanakaanga siku gani?
Yeah. And secondly, if there weren't an Odinga, or for example, a Musyoka, will they have really offered themselves?
Good question. For me, I'm thinking Babu Owino might have been right, saying it was a long con.
Yes.
Yeah, issue ya Jubilee. Probably he was right. Maneno ya Iyala. Ukienda kule, grassroots. Someone will ask you, what do they do? Kenyans are also feeling that when you go to Gikomba, wanafanyanga nini? Other Kenyans wanasema, enda Gikomba, nani wanauza cuttings nini? Ni Wachaga from Tanzania. So Kenyans are saying, why are these people here? And maybe in Tanzania, the other Kenyans who are being asked, why are you here? So the conversation should be them trying to make us understand in Kenya what they do there, in the East Africa integration. We need to understand what is their role, and make us also, make us understand that there are other opportunities for market. That is the conversation we should be having. But I feel it's a reward system. And I feel you also need to reward the best brains. Lenaola is there in the justice, the East African court.
He's since left.
Yeah, he left. But the brains that go there are people who are known, people who have, who have done something. But as it is, it feels like it's a reward system. So Kenyans do not relate. Can we see them this time related to the Kenyans?
In fact, there's a very simple issue. I would have expected maybe the Kalonzo Musyoka, now that he was a representative there. Okay, not alone, or all of them. Remember when the Maasai cows were confiscated in Namanga by the Tanzanians? Yes. How come I didn't even see these fellows do a press conference?
I remember also
as the representatives.
When they banned the chicks.
The chick, yes.
Exactly. They were all chicks.
Yeah. You see Abbas is even saying even singles now will come forward to claim recognition.
So I think that is an endangered group, by the way.
The singles?
Yes, the singles.
Even divorcees, widows, widowers. There are many groups. So
where
do you actually draw the line? In fact, I would have thought that even that judge should not have given those orders to stop.
Even the Mafisi, they need
the
presentation. They need the presentation.
They are a group.
Yet you're the ones who are saying that we have a bloated government.
Yeah. Now that after Ambrose Acheri spoke, even Freemasons, now we know they are
part of Nairobi.
Yeah. We have a huge community of usually. So anyway, let's focus on service delivery.
The Indian community,
Indian community,
the Asian community in this country.
Yeah, so let's just focus on service delivery and ensure that those people who have been given, the question should be, are they capable? And that should be the bigger question. Anyway, we are not even complaining that, why are we not complaining that most of them are from Azimio? But we are just looking
Actually,
at...
they're even Azimio. I think 3 positions were given to Azimio.
So I think there are better questions to ask in terms of leadership and service and service delivery. All right. Unabii yako and your tackle of the day?
You know, my tackle of the day still goes to the state of the affairs in our country. I honestly think that we are not getting it right. If I were just to pick you from the proposal by the FAFI Member of Parliament on presidential term limits, I think we are not prioritizing the issues we should be discussing as a country. Yeah, some debates really are very despicable, disgusting. For me, it's an indictment on whether actually we picked the right people to represent us. I think let's prioritize. That's point number 1. Point number 2, I want to ask DP Rigathi Gachagua, please move on. You've won an election, you've been declared a deputy president together with your... Wachana na hii mambo ya kurefer to our competitors. There are no competitors anymore. Actually, your competitors right now are the people of Kenya, unless you are telling us that we should shut up and not expect from your government. So we are now your competitors in the context of, in the sense of us expecting you to deliver on your promises. So wachana na mambo ya politics at the risk of defending Jacomia, wachana na mzee. Like I said, I welcome Baba back to the opposition because now he's beginning to speak. He's beginning to question. He's putting government on the spot. So what Gachagua and others should do is to say, okay, Baba is back into opposition, so let's up our game. Yeah, I think for me that is what I'll say. Let's prioritize what are the issues for this country, but also let's just stop politicking. And let's stop politicking in terms of going back to 2022, but also taking Kenyans to 2027, because I've seen there's already a discussion around 2027. Some people are going to 2027 already, not even 2 months are over. Others are still taking us back to 2022 August. So we have serious issues to deal with. We have drought, we have famine, we have unemployment, we have insecurity.
We need to move forward.
Let's do something about it.
Unabii, unaona nini ikikuja anytime soon?
I think I'm seeing, if I were to pick from what I'm seeing from Jubilee, I see there are tremors and murmurs even in the current administration. There are people who feel that are considered properly. Mimi naona tu kutakuwa na msuko. A quarrel is coming. A quarrel is coming.
Okay. Vita inakuja.
No,
ruling party.
Domestic.
Kuna msuko-suko. Msuko-suko wa mapenzi.
Mapenzi ya kisiasa unajua sio mapenzi ya kawaida.
Unaona msuko-suko.
Ikikuja.
Justina.
Mine is something for Kenyans to think about. I've been meeting people and they're saying, government is not there to help you. It is for you to help yourself. So the question is, which way forward, Kenyans? What will we do? If government is not there to help us, then tunabaki tukisema sisi ni wanyonge, sisi ni wadhaifu, hatuna nguvu. Which way, Kenya?
Mashabiki tunalia. Si mashabiki tunaumia. Haya. It's been a pleasure having you. Bamboka, I can see you all the way from Australia. Anasema, I'm finally on Tackle's YouTube page. Good to see you. My brother, please keep sharing the YouTube channel. Ensure that you can have more people to subscribe. It's always a pleasure to have you, guys. Always a pleasure. Pauline, I can see you've already checked in. This was Sheria Wiki, the 11th of November 2022. Dr. Ekuru Aukot, Rushimio Justina Wamae. We keep having these conversations every single Friday on the legal and leadership issues. And I think this is one of the best shows that has actually informed the way the country has moved. From killing BBI, from shaping the conversation on national platforms, from Unabii, who anachezwa na nani, and we keep it going, and we hope also in the coming days.
Let me tell you, I think 3 weeks ago I met one of the very diehards of Jacom, and he actually told me, Ekuru, that video of yours, I wish we had listened to you.
I used to get scared.
But the problem with you guys, impunity had blinded you. That's one of the effects of impunity. It blinds people. So the guy told me, what you said, ni uchungu lakini wish you had
Baba anacheza. Baba mara tatu. Kasema ujui siasa. Kaza wewe ndo mbaya. Shali Kitala anasema Rigiji needs a PTSD therapy. What is that?
Traumatic stress.
Stress disorder.
Yeah.
Hivi taka anasema walinifinya. Maybe yenyewe Rigiji anahitaji counseling.
Lakini sasa Rigiji si afurahi at least hata the 7.3 billion case imekuwa withdrawn. Sasa atapata 200 million atarudishiwa. He's in charge of government. Sasa achana na sisi bwana. Sisi wache sisi ndio tuko na mashida.
Sisi ndio tunahitaji counseling therapy.
Sisi ndio tunahitaji counseling sio Rigiji.
All right, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have you. Enjoy your weekend. This is the tackle and it ends now. Bye-bye. We love you.